Okay, we are live with my grandfather. No, I'm kidding. This is Sean Toulon. For those that don't know him, there's a lot of people jumping in chat already. Guys, we're going to try to get to all your questions. We know you have tons of them. I thought I would kick this off for people who don't know Sean or are new to the golf equipment game. First off, let me explain how this went this morning. I send the link to Sean. Sean goes to join the chat. Sean can't figure it out. He is IT department during quarantine time, so that is why Sean's this is why Sean's screen is a little smaller. But can you kind of give people who don't know a little bit about your background, the history of how you got involved in golf and currently at Odyssey, running Odyssey, doing special things there, or whatever you want to call them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, can I say one thing? This is a huge day. It's a huge day for me. But this is the beginning of year 13, I believe, for you.
It is
kicking off the 13th year.
It is. So, that's kind of scary.
This will be a lead paragraph on my resume someday. I did that with my friend Josh. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. We have had some fun over the years, but most of that we can't talk about.
No, that's good. I just, I'm like pretty much everybody on the site. I just am a golf guy, and Luke refers to us all as golf dorks. He's bigger, so I can't really push back much. But love the game. Have since I was a little kid. Was lucky enough right after I got out of college to get recruited to go to work for a little startup called TaylorMade. When I started as a salesman, it was about a $10 million company. They forgot to tell me they were about an hour from bankruptcy when they hired me. But
sounds about right.
Yeah, that would have been good information to have. So that was in 1983. My job was to sell metal woods to people that really thought they were stupid and preferred woodwoods. I did that for quite a while. Started a few companies on my own, sold those, was lucky enough to come out of those well, and went to work for TaylorMade and ran product there for 16 years, I guess. Retired, got talked into starting a little putter company, which I thought was a really dumb idea by a couple of my kids. Started Toulon Design. About a year into that, we got acquired by Callaway, and now I'm senior vice president of Callaway and run Odyssey. So it's who knew? It's
an interesting story. We've worked together since your days at that other company, and then we used to come visit you at your Toulon Design office, really to see the dog and your wife. But
you may see them here both shortly.
Well, you are a guy who loves putters. You don't just do putters; you love putters.
Yeah.
Where did that start from? How did you get so involved with putters where you just thought it was a cool thing? Because you've worked with everybody who's involved with putters in golf.
Yeah. Well, I would say first and foremost, I love design. And I love to be a part of creating new things that when a golfer sees them, you look at it and you say, oh my God. And the emotion that we're trying to create is not that I need that, but I have to have that. And, so when I work with our team, the word that I use a lot is what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an object of lust. And my job is to make these things look so beautiful that highly rational people are forced to do highly irrational things like go out and spend a lot of money on a putter. Nobody needs to do that. But if I've done my job well with the team, then we've created products like that. And putters give you the ultimate creative expression and sort of landscape.
So we have a whole bunch of questions coming in. I'm going to get to some of them and then we'll come back to some conversation. The first one, because you're going to have to read this on your phone and you're pretty old, so I'm going to read it to you.
I have my glasses on and I'm Matt Dawson. No chance I can read that.
Is alignment more of an issue for your typical amateur, or is using the wrong putter more prevalent?
Alignment is the root of all evil. And almost all golfers, including tour players, struggle with it mightily. The difference between a tour player and an average golfer is a tour player is misaligned, but misaligned the same way all the time. And the average golfer, the average even really good player, is all over the place. So alignment, you have to fix that first.
before I jump to the next question, I watched you and Luke and Tony and Joe fit the guys at the Granddaddy with the laser, with the triple track, and it was pretty eye-opening how, take triple track out of the equation, how just off we were aligned when we think we're aligned correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the average golfer is off by 3 or 4 degrees from 10 feet. And Josh, to put that into perspective, if you're off by 1 degree, you're going to miss the hole completely. And most golfers are off by 3 or 4. And they can be off 3 or 4 left on one putt, and the next putt 3 or 4 right. Good luck.
You're talking about me, and I don't appreciate it. Neil wants to know why he shouldn't buy a Marksman triple track.
Well, I don't know that there would be a good reason why not to. The Marksman triple track, for those of you that aren't maybe not as familiar with our lineup as maybe Neil is, it's a mallet, and in the triple track, I think is available only in face balance. So that putter doesn't have a lot of rotation. So if that's a good fit for kind of your stroke and what you feel through your stroke, it's a wonderful putter.
What was I'll put up the question. Mike asks, what was the change from partial diamond milled face to full diamond milled face? And I know that the time it takes to make those putters now is significantly longer.
Yeah. That was going after that one word I mentioned in my opening remarks, lust. It just looks dramatically better. And it's super. Deep diamond mill full frontal is very sexy.
I feel like you're about to pick up a glass of Pinot Grigio and some weird
flowers, but no Pinot.
This is not a question. This is just a comment from Penny saying, hi, Sean.
Hi back to Penny and the Penny Candle Company. That
is correct. Any thoughts on true face balance putters? Should almost everyone have some toe hang?
Here's what I would say. No, it's impossible to answer that question with a definitive. So you need to putt with both of them. What golfers need to do is they need to try to recognize what their miss pattern is. If you miss more to the right, what causes that? And usually it's alignment, but it can be a lot of things. So face balance putters don't have a lot of rotation. They're typically on high MOI mallets that have a tendency to sort of open up in the backswing a little bit. And then they don't want to rotate back to square or to really rotate sort of like that gating of a door. So a lot of people that under rotate will leave a face balance putter to the right. So you need to understand your miss bias first.
Josh Lewis wants to know where the prototype heads that we're not supposed to see. I can probably answer that. Well, in this case, they're right there. But normally we're shooting in Sean's office at Callaway, and you almost always have something that they're not supposed to see.
I usually leave it out too, just to see if anybody will catch it.
They always catch it.
But you know what? They'll never know which one is the ruse.
Well, that's true also. So I haven't gotten this question yet, but it's been asked 7,614 times on the forum. So I'm just going to ask to you. Costco came out with what looks like a hybrid of 19 different brands putters that were hot at one time.
Right.
Can you discuss whether or not you designed it or are making it, or Odyssey is and are making it?
Yeah, well, I got into a little Twitter snap with a different site over it, which I thought was fairly bush league on their part, to be honest with you. But no, we had nothing to do with it. We were not approached by them to do it. We didn't design it. It was implied that we designed it. It was implied even that maybe we made it, and neither one of those things could be further from the truth.
Well, that puts that to bed pretty quickly. Speaking of that, and not Costco, but in general, design of putters, you're a car guy. And the Indy comes to mind with the car thing. How much do you take from your love of race cars and cars into the design of putters?
A tremendous amount. And not just putters, but all of the clubs that we do. We're heavily influenced by art of all kinds, but industrial design to me is just fascinating. And I would say the very, very most talented industrial designers typically come from I believe the number one school is right up in Pasadena, Art Center, and we hire almost all of our industrial designers from Art Center, and almost all of them come from the transportation side of that. So I
Interesting.
think they're the best, and I think they're the most talented, and the car companies spend the most money. So I think we can learn the most from them. We have.
Favorite golf course in Wisconsin? I'm not going to write Go Badgers, but I know you appreciate that.
Well, there's so many of them, but I got to go with the one that I grew up playing, which is Odana Hills in Madison, Wisconsin, and Go Badgers.
So it's a true story and a funny story in talking to Sean, because there's so many great courses in Wisconsin you could have listed that have held majors and everything else, but you went to the one you grew up on. Just like if you have a drink with Sean at one of our THP events or anything like that, he will have you convinced by the end of the evening that the course he plays weekends is better than Augusta National.
It's actually not even close.
Do you see the possibility of a future 2-ball Toulon milled putter coming to the line?
That's from Fuffle.
Yes,
Hey,
this
Fuff.
is somebody met Fuffle Master at one of our events. He was actually not called Fuffle Master until you named him that.
He was FFL, and I said it must stand for Fuffle Master.
Yes.
Anyways, Al, we've been asked that a lot. We've been asked from tour players quite a bit too. We haven't done it yet. The first one that we got really involved with when we came over from Toulon to Odyssey was remember the anniversary 2-ball that we did that was copper on the top, or sort of rose gold on the top, all milled. That was beautiful, I thought, but it did not have a steel face. We may do one. I'd like to do one.
This is an interesting question from Fuffle again, is with Callaway's investment in AI and the success, do you think you can incorporate that into putter designs and the face designs?
Yes. And the benefits, I think, are pretty profound. So you might imagine that we have a prototype. That it was here yesterday, but so
now Tony's using it on the course.
Well, we're testing it, and we're finding some really cool performance benefits, and we have some challenges like sound and feel and things like that we've got to overcome. But definitely, we'll look at putter design differently because of AI.
Neil would like to know, a triple track Toulon has been hinted about previously in some of our chats. Will we be seeing that in the future?
Maybe. Triple track we just got started with before sort of all hell broke loose here, and we're super excited about that, and the momentum that it's going to gain on tour, I think, is pretty obvious to us now. We feel really good about that. So we've got some things that we could pull the trigger on very quickly on the Toulon side that I think players would really like. And I did read some of the comments earlier. I think you would see them being sort of cleaner, simpler renditions than maybe what we have out now.
Wrong question here. John would like to know, why do we see few, if any, mallet style putters with 45 degrees of toe hang or more?
It's a really good question, John. One, I would say my answer would be this: they look really weird. So if you take a hosel and put it on our number 10, if we just put a flow neck, which we do, and put it way into the heel, that would give it more toe hang. But they just look really, really strange. The second part of it, I think, would be technical, which would be the CGs on those are further back than they are on a blade. So typically on a higher MOI mallet, they might be an inch to an inch and a quarter back. They have a tendency to want to open up, and they're very hard to rotate back. Maybe something with more toe hang for some would be interesting. But I'm going to stick with my initial thought is they look strange.
David would like to know, what's the best blade ever?
It's got to be a Ping Anser, doesn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you think about what Karsten did, it was so radical at the time. And I'm 60, so I'm almost old enough to, sort of remember where I was when I first saw one, and it was just strange. But it's definitely the most copied for sure. I look at one a lot and try to come up with different ways to try to make them better, and it's not that easy.
So I'm not going to bring the question over, but Luke Williams asked the next question and wants to know, why do you still make blade putters?
Because some of us are actually still good putters. Luke, maybe not so much.
Dean would like to know, do you think people underthink launch characteristics of putters?
Yes, dramatically. But the diagnostic equipment is just not that readily available. And there is some. We were testing here at the house the other day with Joe and Tony, TrackMan for putters, which was really, really cool. And there are probably some bugs still for them to work out. But I think when people can really begin to see the different types of launch conditions you get and how they can either help or hinder your performance, when that becomes more readily available, I think it's going to be a pretty important part of putter fitting.
Dax wants to know when Nashville is getting a Toulon, but I'm going to take that question away because it's a terrible question and ask, do you ever get blowback on choosing cities where like somebody in Michigan really likes the Columbus shape but won't buy a Columbus?
Yeah, the answer to Dax is just hang in there, buddy. And the answer to the blowback is definitely. I mean, I can't believe, honestly, that I sold out and did a Chicago.
Yeah, that's tough. And you didn't have it referencing high taxes or murder.
The initial logo was Al Capone, which we thought wouldn't go over that well.
I mean, does Tennessee need two putters?
Maybe. I don't know. Dax will have to tell us.
Speaking of mallets, Sean wants to know, he has both a Memphis and a Las Vegas next to me for testing. How does the wing edge design in the Vegas impact differ on MOI from the weight centered on the Memphis?
So I don't have the exact numbers for you, Sean, but the inertia on the Las Vegas will definitely be higher. And it's a little bit bigger putter too to begin with. Memphis is just one of those putters that every time we look at it, that's a really simple, just I think magnificently beautiful design.
And when you see pictures of it, it looks like it's supposed to be enormous, and then you get it in hand and it's rather small.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know that. Maybe a Nashville would be a little bigger than that. I'm not sure.
They do like the junk in the trunk. Eric would like to know, since cars are a source of inspiration, what is the Chevy Vega of your past?
That is so awesome. I guess better to have a Vega than a Pinto. I did some putters at Zevo when I had that company that I would not say they would compare nicely to the Mona Lisa.
I got a question about putter weight, and we addressed this in a video recently. Can you say here why putters got heavier? Because there seems to be people who think it's nonsense, and we know it's not. But can you explain why putter head weights have gotten heavier over the years?
Yeah, I'd say there's two reasons. By far, the leading reason is agronomy, is that green speeds got faster, and they got dramatically faster. And I know it because you even came to our rescue on a thread, Josh. I mean, but we have reams of data from great championship golf courses, including places like Oakmont, over the years, where green speeds 40-30 years ago dramatically different than they are now. So that's one. And then two, with the sort of the different ways to weight a putter, that would include counterbalancing or a totally new way to balance a putter called Stroke Lab. Those really lend itself to a little heavier head. So as long as you have everything else kind of in sync and in tune with that, it can work. But it was largely driven by agronomy.
What do you think of the idea that some of these shapes are, I don't want to say making a comeback, but like the 8802 style, the Latrobe, that kind of thing? it doesn't seem like the most forgiving model in the world. Is beauty take the reins over everything?
So there's two parts of the equation, right? There's art and science. There's emotion and there's logic, and um, you know, what's the best way to say it? I think when you look at a putter, you absolutely have to love what you're looking at, and we've all heard that, and it's probably been sort of an overused cliche for sure, but I do think it's an important part of it. Secondly, we've got to make sure that we get one that can work right for your stroke, and when I say work right for your stroke, it's really what you feel. So it's more of the kinetics, I would say, rather than I've got a big arc, I need a lot of rotation. That may or may not be true, but you've got to have something that really feels good in your hands as you stroke it, and something where you
That
can
sounds
tie your
horrible,
puck
by the
all.
way.
Yeah, and probably not the right phraseology, but Tiger always talks about the release point. And with that old Cameron putter of his, he understands how it releases. And what he's saying is when the putter head gets to the golf ball, he has a really good feel for where that is. And that's the most important part of really finding a putter that fits your stroke.
John wants to know if people are playing putters that are too long for them, and should they be focusing more on the 33-inch range?
I would say really hard to generalize there. I would say when we fit people for putters, we're all over the map. So we've got to get you into a posture where you're in a position to make an athletic move and something that's very repeatable. And I probably fit as many people longer as I do shorter, to be honest.
I got this question a number of times in here. What is the one club that you've released in your career that you were involved in the design process that after it came out, you were like, wow, that was a really bad idea?
There's not many people going for the all-time greatest hits here. It's a dark ground.
We're getting to that shortly.
That I wish I wouldn't have done. Gosh, I don't know. I have to go back to the other company, and I'd say Rocketball Stage 2. And I'm blaming.
I knew that was going to be it.
I'm going to blame that hosel on TO because he put it too far back, and I hated him for that. And we got in lots of arguments about it. But I'd say what I did was a work of art, and TO totally screwed it up.
That sounds about right. Not that TO screwed it up, that you would say that.
But I'm being facetious. But that was probably one we wouldn't mind having a mulligan on.
Another question we got, which is the polar opposite of that. Since you've been designing putters, what is the one putter that is your absolute favorite? And don't say the Madison.
I would say, God, I love them all. I would say the one that came out really beautifully done. And it's really hard to do. Because it was based on a design that Odyssey had created, which is Las Vegas, and we put our own spin on a Las Vegas, and did things. I'm a firm believer in lines that are parallel or perpendicular. Yeah, there's the green machine. I like to see lines that are very simple, either parallel or perpendicular to the target line, and that putter that you have has got some roundness and things to it. So we were able to kind of take our own philosophy to a number 7 and do things a little bit differently. And I think it just turned out great.
This is an interesting one. Obed has a San Diego on the way, but he loves his Jailbird. If you had the two of them lined up, which one's winning?
Wow. For me, if he's asking me personally, I've always been, I just love the feedback both in the feel and the acoustics and the crispness of a milled putter. And San Diego,
Snob.
I know I am a little bit of a golf snob too. I'll definitely admit to that. But for me personally, I would say San Diego. But lots of people would say Jailbird.
This is a really interesting question. Dean says your former company released a putter that they say helps with stability. Granted, it's been done about 15 years ago, but it looks like it would do more harm in terms of aerodynamics. The real question is, how much do aerodynamics matter in design with putters?
I would say really little, just because, the club head speed is, it's so little, 5-6 miles an hour of club head speed. So, but I know which putter he's referring to. If had I done that, I maybe would have answered that question a few questions ago with that one.
That took me offline a little bit. You're definitely not referring to your favorite look ever.
Not so much.
When you were talking about triple track earlier, it's one of those ones where I told you as soon as I saw the pictures the first time we were in your office about 6 months before it came out, I said, that is horrible. In every way, that is horrible. And now I'm using one. So my question is, gotta love the office line ringing here. My question is, when you saw it, did you think the same thing?
Well, I lost. Where are you going, Josh?
Are you there?
I am. I got.
We're having some technical difficulties with Sean here, but everything should be working out fine. He's there with us now.
Yes.
So, did you think triple track was terrible looking when you first saw it?
I lost you again. So,
when triple track, when it came out on the golf balls, you were putting it onto the putters. Did you look at that and say, yeah, we need to do this? Or did you look at it and say, this is not going to look good?
And now I'm losing you, but you're there, Josh?
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah.
If you guys bear with us, we're going to remove Sean from the stream and bring him right back and see if this works.
Yeah. So, and who's one of the top amateurs, probably in the last 30 years, 40 years. So excited about it. So as we started to work with it and get some measurements and some data from, go forward with it, we did the putters, literally that day. The most profound innovations are the simplest ones, and
that's crazy. So our last question we're going to ask is one that we teased a while back. The Blue Mist putter. People want to know when it's going to be available.
Oh, the blue one. I don't know yet on that one. We're fooling. They seem to be pretty. I don't know if it's a vocal minority or. That's a pretty attractive putter.
We want to thank Sean for coming on. We know you guys have tons of questions. If you head over to the THP forum and drop them in there, we'll make sure he can get them answered. I can answer them for you, or we'll make sure that Sean gets the right answers. So for myself and Sean, thank you guys. We appreciate you following along with lots of questions, and we'll be doing it again soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys, and everybody.